20 years ago, somebody walk up to the door and ring a doorbell. The whole family comes out of doing what they're doing, and they're inviting that person in, and next thing you know, they're having supper together. Today, somebody rings the doorbell, and it's like, everybody run and hide. And you do need those guys in your life that know you so well, that they know how you do things. Connor's called me yesterday. He's like, hey, like, just kind of told me some stuff, and I'm like, all right, yeah, you're right. Like, because you guys know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know who you are. And so when you see some things happening, there's something going on there.
That's exactly
so right. You do need those individuals.
You know, as you acknowledge Jesus, that's the difference. That's the line. No Jesus, Jesus. That's the difference in all of it. As you pronounce his name and that he was resurrected and that he died on the cross for us to save us of our sins, when you make that statement and when you draw that line in the sand, you are going to be reviled. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to face trials. And to stay willing to be the salt and willing to allow God to work through you, that it's hard.
Man was created for a purpose, often a greater purpose than he can see in himself. The trials and difficult experiences a man goes through are for his benefit and for that purpose. A dull axe is useless, though an axe being sharpened is a grueling, violent, and uncomfortable process. A sharp axe is undeniable in its purpose. A man with a spirit-filled heart and mind is also undeniable. A kingdom warrior after God's own heart. But how do we get there? God uses trials and fire to shape a man. Life is God's foundry. It's where a man is individually crafted to complete God's mission. Join us as we seek out the fruit forged in God's own foundry.
Hey guys, just so you know, you can find us on all the different platforms. You know, we're on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, X, and as well as Spotify and all the other podcast platforms that are out there. And so feel free to tune in on any of them, like, share, comment. Like we've said, thank you guys. Well, good morning, guys. Good to be back. I got nominated to open it this morning because I've been gone for the last couple weeks. Traveling, got to go out to see my nephew. Well, not my nephew, my cousin actually, but graduate. That was really neat. Went out to Washington there and got to see them. Just a wonderful family, and did that. And then we had a bit of work travel, so that had a guy running. And it was really cool to have James fill in last week, and just you and James get to do the rest of Peter 5 there, and just wonderful to have great people around us, you know. And so
yeah, and I think, you know, community is such an important part, right? It's you have your friends, your close friends that you can really open up to, but just having a community of people around you. And I think it's a bigger need than people realize, like, because things happen, people move, you go through stretches and where you don't see an individual for a long time. Like you've been on the road quite a bit, but just to have other people around you, multiple people around you that you can trust and lean on at different phases of your life. With you being gone, I mean, Connors and I were super close and be able to talk quite a bit. And Sullivan, you just get other individuals that you get close to, but then, you know, you come back and it's like we start a conversation like it never happened.
Yep.
But I think I just want to encourage people to get out there and start the conversations, because I can promise you that you go 5 miles either direction and there's 100 people that are starving for a community. Yep. You know, we do all the communicating in this world. There's a million ways to communicate in today's society, but nobody connects anymore. And to have that actual connection our society's starving for it.
Well, to guard against distraction, right? Like that's what the evil one's going to do, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's in friendships or relationships or with your work. I mean, everything, there's always some sort of distraction. And nowadays with social media and all that stuff, it is easier, can be a little bit more comfortable to just talk to somebody in a text message or talk to somebody on Facebook or like their post. versus getting yourself out there, like you're saying, and go be involved, go break bread. You know, that used to be something that would go on, you know, even 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people going and having dinner with one another, cooking for each other, just different church gatherings, different community gatherings.
And it's going to feel weird at first, like to reach out to people. Like our anxiety bells are going off when we have to go say hi to a stranger.
Yeah.
There's a really good skit. There's a comedian, Sebastian, I forget what his name is, but he talks about the difference between today and like 20 years ago when somebody comes to the door and rings the doorbell. Like 20 years ago, somebody walk up to the door and ring a doorbell, the whole family comes out of doing what they're doing and they're inviting that person in, and next thing you know, they're having supper together. Today, somebody rings the doorbell and it's like, everybody run and hide. There's a stranger at the door. Like that kind of communication is weird today. That kind of just popping in and saying hi is weird today. So it's going to take a stretch and an exercise of some muscles and some things that you have not done in a while to reach out to an individual and to get to know somebody new. But I can promise you, people need it, and people want it. But you might have to be the first one to take that leap.
Well, you might have to be willing to change your schedule. Like you guys run at 5:30. I don't like that, but I make it work.
I know, and it's awesome to have you. You know what I mean?
That was a change. Yeah. When we first started doing that, I remember setting my alarm for 4:30. I'm like, man, that's early. Like only Jocko Willink did that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And now it's such a rhythm of life. Like it's something I don't remember life before that, I guess.
Yeah.
And now it's awesome. I wouldn't go back. Yeah, I get less sleep than I used to, but it's way more rewarding.
Yeah. It you know, with today's technologies, the one thing that happens, and it allows for more distraction, but with today's technologies, you can fly somewhere and be there in an instant. You can get answers really quick on a phone. You can call somebody really quick on a phone. But what I find, or what I'm always battling against, is then I just fill my day with more stuff.
So much. Yeah.
You know, and you were talking about when you were talking just a minute ago, what popped in my head on how people would greet people when they came to somebody's house. I don't remember the name of the room prior to this, but your living room wasn't the living room. When somebody passed away in like the early 1900s and before, that your loved one was in the home for a while. I wish I could remember the name of that. But
yeah, they changed I know what you're talking about. I read or heard a talk on this. And the individual that passed away would literally be put in that room for about a month as loved ones came in, and there was an actual grieving process.
Like Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, but
holiday like a vacation with the.
But there was time for grieving, and now we've commercialized funerals,
right?
Where like you literally go to work in the morning, go to a funeral, and then are back at work, and there's no grieving process.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't want to think about death at all.
I think it was called something kind of dark like that,
and that's why they changed it to a living room where it was more positive, and so then they started
instead of the death room.
Yes, and I suppose we have a phone that we can look it up, but we finally get to do. Jonathan, if you get a chance, would you look that up like a regular podcast, right? Yeah. Like, John, what's that called? Well, you're finding that, John, with your amazing skills. We'll, you know, but why that popped in my head is if you'd have back then, especially if you'd have gone 100 years ago or whatever, and you'd have been a couple 2-3 miles apart, it would have been, and you and your wife and son were out working on the farm, and the neighbor was coming over for lunch or for dinner or just happened to swing by, it would have been a big deal because you knew it wasn't something easy for them to just come. Right. And you weren't just easily seeing people on Facebook and social media and stuff like that, you know? And so did you have any luck?
They said it was called the parlor.
The parlor.
Yeah.
And
they did say sometimes it's called the death room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, you know, as
what is the parlor? Where does that word come from?
I know that.
From the French parloir, meaning to speak. It was a room for conversation and visitors, and it was commonly used to lay out the body of a deceased family member for viewing.
Imagine that for a minute, like just having it's a kind of a dark thought because it's so weird in today. But if one of your members of your family were to pass away, their body would literally be in your house for, does it say a month maybe? That's what I've heard. Is it a couple weeks to a month?
It doesn't say in my search, but it does say that in 1910, they decided to rename it the living room to reclaim the space for everyday family life.
Yeah. And we don't do any of that anymore. Like we don't even have time to grieve.
Right. We don't. And I honestly think that's a lot of our struggles. I know it was mine, really starting to learn the different forms of grieving, whether it's, somebody, maybe one of my crew members finds a different job or something like that. And you've had a relationship with them for 2 or 3 years or 4 years. Like there is a grieving process to that.
You're happy for them usually, but it's a painful separation. I mean, think of your best friend moving away.
Yeah. Yeah. Very sad. Or your son all of a sudden gets a driver's license, right? And now, like, Kate was struggling with that. She's taken the boys everywhere they needed to go or dropped them off at school since they could go to school, and she had to grieve.
That literally happened next week, or a week or so ago. Shaden turned 16, got his driver's license, did something his mom and I never did, is he passed his driver's test on the first time.
That's awesome.
So good for him. But he's a busy dude now, just like that. Flip of a switch. So he leaves the house at like 6 o'clock to go lift weights, and then he's going to work right after that. But he left the house before me, which is something he's never done. Yeah. Because I've always taken him everywhere, or his mom has. But I was sitting on the front porch, and I watched him drive out the driveway, and that's the thought I had is like, little Shaden, we're never going to get little Shaden back.
Yeah.
And that was heavy. And like he is now turning into a man, and with that comes responsibility and busyness, and there's some grief there. Like I'm never gonna have little boy Shaden back.
Yeah. Man, and doesn't that, man? It just kind of hits you right in the face, Because here's the thing: it's not that you're not excited for the future.
Oh, looking forward to it.
Yeah. But it's good though to take a moment and sit in that and let yourself feel that and think about that, because you would have sat around the campfire or whatever, or before radio and all that stuff, you'd have sat as a family in a household and you would have had conversations like that, where we skip out on that so often because we're so busy, because we can get to the next thing so fast. But to sit in that and talk about all the old memories of Shay when he was little, like what a wonderful moment. And so,
they say that's when a lot of the education happened. It's like you were done with the work. It was dark. You get some candles out, and then that's when you would like tell stories and get your, play music. All these things that we miss out on.
Yeah, John Eldridge says it well, because it's not like we want to go back to those times. Like that's not the answer. No. Our human minds just have this desire to go back to the way things used to be. But when things were the way they used to be, we just wanted to get on to the future. Yep. So it's just being intentional with our time, like you said, getting rid of the distractions and taking some time for the heavy parts in life, the good parts in life, the bad parts in life. It's all heavy, but it hit me hard when Shane drove out the driveway, and I just need to take some time for that. But anyway, life is busy.
It is. It's good.
And we need community. We need to actually connect with other people. That's important.
We do. It is. And I that's really, just a reminder of why we even started this podcast is us realizing that as we started doing our workouts together and started getting more vulnerable with one another, and then started other guys starting to get involved, and as we got more involved in the church community, and which I think is just so you guys know, if you're in your early 20s or maybe even later 20s, like life is busy. It's crazy. You're running around, you're trying to figure out life. And so sometimes that gets a little sporadic. And as you get into your 30s, things can start to get a little bit more, structured and standard. And so I think it was just a natural cycle of life, but it made us aware of that we were blind to it. And so we really wanted to start sharing, like, it is important. You don't realize how much you need the community, how much you need brotherhood, fellowship.
And it's not hard. Like I said before, my alarm goes off at 4:30. Yeah. That's still not fun. I still don't like that, but I know what it brings now in the connection. But still, when that alarm goes off, I'm like, man, I just fell asleep. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to get up.
Yeah. Then you got the scientists chirping in the background, like, you got to get 8 hours of sleep or you're going to die.
Okay. Well, bring it on. Come, Lord Jesus. Like, let's just.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. So it just, so do the best you can, get to sleep where you can, but also don't be scared to run on a little less sleep here and there, Speaking, I think you and I are about 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Not that maybe 4.5 to 6.
I mean, during the
hours.
week, like Monday through Friday is not good. My sleep patterns are not good. And I think like the young dads, young moms, we talk a lot about the healthy rhythms of life, the things to do. Don't feel like you got to do those. I mean, you are in the grind. Like there's never enough time. There's never enough money. And everybody is at your beck and call. I mean, you're just trying to survive, trying to keep the kids alive, trying to keep them on your, it's just, you're surviving.
Yep.
So don't put too much pressure on yourself to, go through the drive-through every once in a while. I mean, that's okay. Like you don't have to eat healthy. You don't have to live healthy. Like give yourself some grace when you're in survival mode.
Yeah. I tell my boys, just try to get 1% better every day. Right. Yeah. And because you're going to do
and
those
if you
things.
don't that day, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And because you won't do it perfect, we don't do it perfect. Wherever you're at, you're enough. Just always remember that you're enough. That's really what fellowship allows you to see is that, you're not alone. Other people are, maybe they're not struggling with the same exact thing, but they're struggling with something. And so then you realize, now you don't want to all just become a victim. Everybody, you're just complaining about stuff. You need solutions to the things where you're falling short, which that solution is Jesus Christ, by the way, right? And so, but it's remembering to not, have that stranglehold on those things that where you aren't quite doing what you need to be doing or whatever, where you don't have the discipline.
Right.
So
that's when the Bible talks about it. Like, there's some things that are very important in life. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into the Sermon on the Mount today. We're going to start that.
Yeah.
Jesus gives some direction of how we should live our lives. Like physical exercise, the Bible said profiteth little. And I think that's the King James version. It says it profiteth little. But it has its place.
Yes.
But it's not everything. It's not even close to everything.
Yeah. You talking about that? I just finished the book Dialed In by Jim Ramos. I think
Is that the one you
sent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's like the 20 characteristics of a kind of an elder type or a leader type person in faith. And he had said something in there, and I won't quite remember it exactly, but these little disciplines that we're trying to do, like you said, it doesn't really mean much, the exercise and all that stuff in reality, right? Where our bodies are going to get weaker, we're going to ultimately die. But the discipline, it helps you to control your mind. Doing those little things help you to control your mind and what you're letting into your mind, right? What you're letting into your heart and how you're reacting to those things. So you're really just doing it, honing who you are and your image in God. And really, it's helping you deal with situations that are going to come down the road, the different trials you're going to face or successes you're going to face down the road. That's why you're doing it now.
Yeah. The comfort crisis talks a little bit about it. Like when you can become used to being in uncomfortable situations, like you just become a more consistent person. Your emotions in your spiritual walk, like there's not these super highs and super lows. When you can get comfortable with the uncomfortable, things are just a little bit more consistent.
That's why for me in the Bible, next to Jesus and what he did, like truly understanding what he did and the mentality, the love he had to do what he did. Next to that, the fruits of the Spirit are the biggest impact because opposite of the fruits of the Spirit are sin. And so the way my mind works is if there's a problem, what's a solution? That's just how I always think. And so then when I was looking at the fruits of the Spirit, to what you're saying, like how are you reacting to the situations when you're in the trial? That's all that really matters, and that's all you're trying to refine. And what Jesus' example was is he lived that way while carrying the cross, while putting up with Peter, while Judas was doing his stuff, while Pontius, right? He lived by the fruits of the Spirit.
I was just listening to a sermon. I think it was Matt Chandler. And Bobby Turner brought this up when she was on her podcast. Like when we're pressured and when we're squeezed, what comes out of us?
Yes.
When Jesus was pressured and when Jesus was squeezed, when he was on the cross, what came out of him was love.
Yes.
Compassion. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If we were to put in those situations and just in our daily situations when we're pressured and when we're squeezed, what comes out of us? Most of the time, it's our ugly human nature.
Yes. the thing that's beautiful when you really dive into Jesus and who he was and what he did is I think a misperception has gone on for many years and a passivity in that. Jesus, what came out of him was love, but he stood steadfast. He didn't bend. The rest of the world out in front of him seen it differently, seen it that he wasn't the Messiah, that he wasn't our Savior. Everybody was against him. He didn't bend and bow down and say like, yeah, you're right. No, he loved, went through it, but he stood steadfast in what was truth and what was right and followed through with it. You know how much strength that takes? You know how hard that is to do? There's nothing easy about it. There's no passivity. Yeah. So we're not saying be a passive Christian. We're not saying go be some mean, Jesus was not mean or arrogant or anything.
You don't need to be the Pharisees.
Yeah, don't be a Pharisee, And I think that's that's so beautiful. And I think that's why you do these things. It's to help yourself react to things in the fruits of the Spirit, whether it's success or whether it's trials, And
they're just experiences in life. Like Jesus has already paid the price for us. Everything else we do in this life is just an experience we go through to help us grow and be shaped and try to understand maybe just a little bit of how Christ loved us. The battles you have with your wife, the arguments you have with your wife, but love her anyway. Yeah. Like, man, Jesus took that and loved us anyway.
Right. Yeah. While in all that pain, he took all the disciples ran away while he marched up with a cross on his back and thorns in his head and whipped
and he knew he was going to be facing that for like, how long did he know? Like years.
Yeah.
And he's going through life knowing that that's coming at the end.
Yeah. And what's cool about it, you and I have kind of debated this at different times, is what was his emotions? Because he's God in man's form, right? Yeah. And you're like, well, did he feel what we felt? Well, yeah, he did, and he turned away from it. He asked God, he's praying, like, take this from me in the garden. He didn't, but I'll do your will. So it's not that he didn't feel that he didn't want to have to go through it, right? In man's form, in fleshly form, he didn't want to go through it, but he knew that was what needed to be done, and he followed God's will.
And, I just saw this thing about Abraham and Isaac. It's like Abraham took Isaac up the mountain to sacrifice him, and like when you're reading that in Sunday school, shows like Isaac's like 4 years old. Like, what are we doing, Dad?
Yeah.
It's like actually Isaac was probably like 20 or 30 years old because he's like carrying the wood. He's doing this stuff. And I just wonder if Jesus is thinking like, is this another, like, why would he ask God to take it from him?
Yeah.
But like Isaac went through the same thing, and Isaac was willing to be put on that altar.
Yeah.
And have his dad, you know what I mean? Like his dad is like 90 some years old or whatever. He could have overpowered him. I just thought that's an interesting
I haven't thought
parallel
about it that way.
That Isaac was willing to go through with it, and then God did provide a ram, right?
Yeah. But Isaac didn't see the end?
Isaac didn't see the end, and I'm just wondering if maybe that's why Jesus was praying this.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe there's another way.
Right.
Yep.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to go all the way through with it.
Right. And I mean, the reason we don't have this podcast because we're good at any of these things, right? Like,
so true.
If that is in your mindset at all, I mean, just know that we're complete frauds. We have this because we had a realization, very similar realization at the exact same times when like we need to be okay showing our vulnerable, like our weak spots and helping people walk through, because everybody's doing it at the same time. And if you look at the people of the Bible, all the disciples, I mean, Abraham, David, most of them would not pass a background check in today's local church.
They couldn't run for public office.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So just vote me president. I tried to kill my son. You know what I mean?
I had my commander killed so I could sleep with his wife.
Yeah.
Right?
No, right. So just keep that in mind. And God used them in great ways. Like, the reason they're called the heroes of the Bible is not because of anything that they did. It's because they actually obeyed the will of the Lord. Mm-hmm. That's the heroic part.
Yeah.
And
also to show, in spite of when they didn't obey, God still worked.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's all these, there's negative parts of their life, very negative parts of their life, but they obeyed the will of the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true for all of us. Like, there's very negative parts of our life. And if we can just do our best to obey the Lord, that's going to be the victory. Yeah. You know, Jesus actually has the victory, but if we can receive it. And, you know, as you were talking, like, you know where I'm at, like this week, I've been a battle. I mean, almost was a little upset with God, like to the point where I didn't purposely chose not to read and pray earlier this week. I'm like, no, because I know what you're going to ask me to do, and I don't want to do it.
That's good honesty.
Like, it's just how I felt where I was.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can drag that on as long as I want, but when am I going to face it and be like, okay, all right, I'll submit. I know you're right. I know I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Can you bring me through it? I can't do this myself.
Well, and I think that's our hope in this, is to knock this pretty painted picture that everybody seems to have around, you know, I don't know, like this church faith community stuff. Like, we're all humans. Like this, our lives aren't perfect. Yes, we own a couple of businesses. They're doing well right now. We're married. Our kids are doing well right now, but none of it is perfect. Like, I don't want you coming to church with me on Sunday and thinking I got this thing all figured out and I got it all put together and that I don't have my own struggles. Our hope is to be on here and willingly admit that it's hard. Yeah. We struggle. 4:30 sucks.
Do it differently. Like, as much as this podcast might look like we have the same rhythm of life, it's not.
Yeah, we don't.
And I think early in our relationship, we kind of tried to parallel a lot of different things.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
We're bouncing ideas and try to take the same idea and make it work in both of our lives. But the longer our relationship goes on, I'm realizing, like, no, that's Jake's role. Or that's what Jake does. It works well for him. I'm not that individual.
Yep.
But still, the encouragement and pouring into one another still happens. But
I love that you say that. Not sorry to cut you off, but you saying that, it was on my mind the other day because you do a wonderful job coming around. Somebody will be having a hard time. I think that's probably why you went into the military. I don't know. Just me analyzing you from the outside. Like,
please tell me why I did these things.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Well, I just see you as a protector, to be honest with you. Like, there's just no better way to put it. Like, if there's a friend in need, like, you just find time to go have coffee with somebody or go do these different things. Or I come back after my mom's passed away and you found time to go work out with me every morning. You know what I mean? And as my life doesn't always allow that. And I was driving and I was like, gosh, dang it, am I missing the ball here? Like, Alda's doing these things. He's leaning into these people that need it. And
I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but like, there's the stuff that eats me up to this day is like, okay, you said that, you know, I found time to work out with you or be with you after your mom passed. The thought I had is like, dude, you should have flown out there and been at his mom's funeral. Like,
that's because you're.
It's never enough. Like in my head.
Yeah, well, that's because you're a protector, and that's just your natural bend. But just know that you're just fine. You played the role you needed to play, and I don't.
Just the voices and stories we tell ourselves are always negative.
Yes, yeah, and in that moment, I was like, as I'm thinking through that, I'm like, you know, to your point, that's Ald's role in our friends' is in our community's life. My role is a little bit different, and that's okay. And maybe my role is just this. Maybe the way my role is this season.
It's not just okay. It's very good.
Yeah, very good, right? Yeah,
because it's no one else is going to fill that role.
Yeah, God uses those words a lot, right? Like, very good. He create. You know,
well done. Yeah. Like, it's not just okay. Like, I know what you're saying. Because I think everybody has that in their life. Like, oh, if I could just be a little bit more like that person. Well, if you were a little bit more like that person, you wouldn't be doing all the good things you're doing currently that no one else would do. So everybody's needed in their role and in their gifts.
To that, I was telling the boys yesterday when they were playing baseball, like, it's a wonderful part of baseball. To get something, you have to give something up. And so to like what you're saying, like if we all just did the one thing, we wouldn't be covering the whole field. You know what I mean? Like, but because we all have different talents and different abilities, then we can impact across the board, right? Everybody's doing a good thing. And
you're needed. Like, sometimes you are stuck in left field picking your nose while everybody else is busy.
Yes.
But you're still needed out there.
There's
going to be something for you to take care of you shortly.
That's exactly right. You know, and I think as we've seen it go, like you said, as we've hung out with each other and seen how the different roles start to play out and took little things from each other that we've implemented in our lives, it brings an awareness, and it brings that it's okay It's okay if your business looks one way and mine looks another. If your marriage, you guys do things this way because that's what works for your family, or I do things this way and it works for my family. But it's good to have fellowship and bounce all those things off of one another, because that's how you come out to the best conclusion. That's how you stress test. Are you walking the line? Are you doing it the way God asked?
And you do need those guys in your life that know you so well, that they know how you do things.
Yeah.
And they can iron it out. Like, we had some conversation this morning. Connor's called me yesterday. He's like, hey, like, just kind of told me some stuff. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, you're right. Like, because you guys know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know who you are. And so when you see some things happening, they're doing it differently than the way they normally do it. And there's something going on there.
That's exactly right.
So you do need those individuals.
I think it was Chad Robichaux or somebody. He's talking about, like, when you do, like, he does a lot of judo or
well, he was a world champion.
Yeah. And he's like, it's kind of like that with life. He's like, you need somebody that's better than you, training you up. You need somebody that you can go, like, toe to toe with, who's, like, sharpening you.
Yeah.
And then you need somebody that you're training.
Yeah.
So you're passing on your wisdom and helping grow them up. I think you need that in relationships. So, like, if you guys found that in each other, what would you tell somebody listening who's like, I don't have somebody, like, I don't have a Jake or I don't have a Dan. Like, what would you tell somebody who's looking for something like that?
It's like I said earlier, sorry.
No, you're good.
Reach out. Like, go find that person. You should be being discipled too. Like, you can't just, there's a lot of people in the church that are just discipling, which is good. But if no one's discipling you, what are you doing?
Pouring into you.
Yeah. And you have to have people that are stressing you exactly what you're saying. They're out there. They're very close in your community. You just haven't taken the step to find that person yet. My brother, he lives in Alaska, and he kind of realized as he started listening to the podcast that he didn't have community, and he started praying for it, and had some people reach out to him, and it's growing. I mean, it's growing quick. It just takes a little bit of intentionality. It's taking some of him pouring into other people that, stretching those boundaries that he recently had, changing those boundaries. When I say boundaries, I guess I'm meaning more like comfort levels.
Comfort zones.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not going to watch TV late at night. You're going to wake up early.
So I think you'll be surprised at how fast it'll happen when you actually seek it out.
And I think what people
the thing is, somebody else is also seeking it out.
Well, that's what I was going to say is you might have that hunger, but somebody else has the exact equal hunger for the same thing.
If you want to go back there, like, that was a prayer that I was praying back then, because I was realizing, like, I'm very stale. Like, this is just redundant life. Jay came from Montana. Shortly after that, those prayers were happening. And
said, send me a mountain man.
Right. And it's amazing. Like, you look at our community, we just had our 20-year class reunion. And so we get around some people that I was friends with in high school. My friend group is not from Spring Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from Montana. Yeah. Connors is from Madison. Yeah.
Where am I from?
Ellsworth?
River Falls.
River Falls.
Yeah.
Sullivan's from Iowa.
Yeah.
Or Alabama is his wife's from. I mean, it's amazing how maybe it's not fast, but it seems like a fast friend group change. They're just like, how it all come together is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I do think God will put people in your life that you need.
Yeah, but you might have to change some things. Yep. I mean, we moved.
Right.
I mean, I have to wake up earlier.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
I just see a lot of people asking, like, where do I even start? It's like, I think praying for it is good.
Yeah.
But then you might have to sacrifice something, a comfort or whatever.
And being aware, like, if you really open your eyes and look around, the person sitting next to you in a cubicle might be the one you're looking for, that you've sat next to for 5 years. You just haven't opened up, gotten vulnerable, shared some things, to a deeper level. I think that's kind of where it starts. And it got that way. Like, I mean, we knew each other, but until we really started opening up and there were some pressures.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can trust this individual.
Yeah. Well, and that's, one, as your friends group change, it doesn't mean that they're bad or anything like that. Because one thing is this seasons will change and kids will be in different things, or people will move. For instance, Daryl Perry, like he's one of our dearest friends, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like that, I love that guy. I don't get to hardly see him very often because they moved to Woodville, and just the way life has changed, we don't get to see him. But if you don't think I don't think about that guy, on a weekly basis, and wonder how things are going, and do you wind up reaching out and texting or stuff? No, you don't do that. But he called up here like a month ago or something, and I was just like, man, what a great, I was like, man, he called me. Why haven't I called him or whatever? But it's not that he's not on my mind. It's just things change, and there's no hard feelings there. And so don't get jaded in that. And then the other thing is to don't get jaded when you're in search of fellowship. You will meet some people, and it'll look like it's going to be a good fit, and then it's not, because the seasons don't align. And I think you said that well. Like when we very first met, there was a spark. Like you could just kind of see. Like we just kind of clicked it and just hit it off. But you were busy building integrity. I was busy running all over the country and stuff. And so it was yes, we would talk, but it was a couple, 2-3 years. And then we started kind of talking business and some different stuff. It was a little while before our lives really aligned where it works. And even right now, you and I over the last couple years have experienced different seasons where either your work life gets, like you've been hammering at work, and then now all of a sudden mine's picking up. And so we, I don't know. I don't think I've talked to you in 2 weeks, maybe like once, what I mean? Or through a text message.
It's easy to take the easy way out.
Yeah.
Like it does take some intentionality.
Yeah.
Like, and I have all the thoughts. Like I'm not going to get up and work out tomorrow because I had a long day. I just got home late. You do have to overcome those things.
You do. Just this
to
morning.
make the time. Yeah, even this morning.
Yeah, I was nervous. It's been 2 weeks since I've been here. I haven't really ran. I've been battling some plantar fasciitis, and then I did some workouts with my boys out in Washington. Wound up sitting in pickups and stuff. So then my lower back is like
sprint like a madman.
Well,
Like,
got lucky, a little warmed up there. The wind was blowing right, but I was nervous. I was like, "Gosh dang it, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be dead and underperform and kind of be embarrassed in front of all these guys." And I'm like, "Do I really want to go do that?"
you do got to put yourself, and that's with the group of people that you
Yeah,
know.
I know. Like, best buddies, right?
Yeah.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, like guys I go to war with, right?
Yeah.
And
so the guys that are looking to make connections, like it is going to be uncomfortable.
Well, and I think the key is a vulnerability.
Yeah.
If you really want to go there with somebody, then you're going to have to be okay with being.
Yeah, and I've heard that vulnerability is the most attractive trait a human can have. Like I said a minute ago, like the stories and thoughts we tell ourselves are always way worse than the reality.
Yeah.
You might feel negative about yourself when you're sharing some vulnerable stuff, but I can promise you the person that you're talking to is thinking nothing but like, wow, what a strong, capable, honest human. And that's very attractive.
Well, and that's so pulling up there. Mike's there to work out with us this morning. And first thought in my head is like, dang it, now I'm going to look like a fool in front of Mike. And you can tell he's been hitting the weight since we last seen him and stuff like that, and working out. And I'm like, this is really going to be bad, And so, and then I'm
50
like,
years old, looks like he's 30.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I was like, then my very next thought was like, how cool is it that he faced whatever battles he was facing and showed up this morning? And I'm like, whatever. If I walk this whole thing today, so be it. Like, how cool is it that Mike here? But that was like my first, like, I'm not enough. And when really I should just be comfortable in the situation.
But it's real. Those are real thoughts.
They really are, yeah.
And I think you need to remember, like, the enemy will always condemn you and use shame. Now, God will convict you, but it should bring peace.
And why is he doing that? To remove you, to seclude you, right? So you're not involved in fellowship.
Isolate you,
right? Yeah, the lone gazelle, so the lion can feed on you. You know what I mean? And so with that, we were in 1 Peter because it had really spoken to Alden. He thought that going through 1 Peter, we could really get the chance to talk about the trials and the fruits of the Spirit and just the ebb and flow of life, because Peter does a really good job of that. And I'm really glad we started there. And then the Sermon on the Mount, at least for me, why I wanted us to dive into this and thought it was good to get in the Sermon on the Mount is for myself, really getting into the Gospels and listening to Jesus. Like whenever I'm struggling, I skip all of the other stuff. Paul was great. The Old Testament's great. I just like to go, I want to know what Jesus said. how he said it, and listen to him. And
Like even all the stuff we just said,
Yeah.
like that we were just talking about it for a half an hour. Like that's all good and great, but that's not Jesus. That's not God's
Jesus.
word.
Yes, exactly. And so go read the words in red. I'm telling you, it'll change your life, and read them for yourself. Don't just hear us talk about this and then go do your own Bible study. Go dive into this, because that's really what started to change my life, because I had a skewed perception of it from early churches that I had been to, from social media, from parents, from uncles, from cousins, from everybody else. And then I would always start in the Old Testament and would not get all the way through the Bible, right? And finally somebody's like, I think it was my brother-in-law. He's like, read the Gospels. Just start there. And I'm so grateful. It changed my life forever.
Put that guy on the list.
Yeah. Oh, Bub. Yeah, that'd be a great one. For an interview. Bub, you're up. But so we wanted to do Sermon on the Mount because
One saying I like that I've heard is never judge Christ by the Christian.
I love that.
Because it's going to be a skewed.
It is. It's a human version of
correct.
your interpretation.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people that look at churches and they're like, there are a couple different things. Number one, I'm not going next to those self-righteous people, or I'm not good enough to go. Like all that's not Christ.
Right.
You've heard somebody say, like, if I'm wearing a Michael Jordan jersey and like I'm just being a jerk, doesn't mean Michael Jordan's a jerk. It's like, no, I'm just wearing his jersey.
Right.
And the other thing I was going to say is I think it was Bobby who said she puts her name in these verses.
Yeah.
Make it personal to you. It's like Jesus isn't talking to somebody else. He is talking to you.
It's so true. And he is talking to you, and it just grounded me and made me realize when you read what I love about it, we got to read Peter and the way in which he wrote and the way in which God worked through him. And Peter is a man in his trials and struggles. And now we get to go in and dive into what Jesus is talking about and how he speaks and how he sees things. And he had the same human struggles that we all do, that Peter did, but he reacted to them every single time in the fruits of the Spirit. He reacted to them without sin. But he stayed humble while they didn't. He stayed, one of my favorite pieces of verse is he's sleeping in the boat, and the waves around the boat are just thrashing around so much that all the disciples are scared of him. And the reason he's sleeping, so just think about how tired Jesus is. He's been speaking, it may be right after the Sermon on the Mount, frankly. He's been speaking to these crowds, and he's so tired. He's sleeping with waves so bad that the rest of the crew thinks the boat's going to sink. That's how tired he is. And then they wake him up, and in his word, like he's verbally frustrated. You can interpret that he's frustrated that they woke him up. Because he's like, have you not seen that I've healed people? All of this, I've provided bread, all this different stuff, and yet you think that this little storm is going to do something, right? And so then he calms the waves, though. He was frustrated, but yet he calmed the waves and calmed their fears, and he was patient with them. But it just amazes me every time I think of that, because how often in my life has he calmed the storms? Has he done something?
In reality, the storm is not that bad. I'm not saying that one wasn't, but we can drum up the biggest storm, make the biggest storm out of something little.
Yes,
when we speak to ourselves. Yeah.
But that being said, they were fishermen, so I'm guessing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Serious.
I don't know if that's the case there. They were used to a storm or two.
Now, one thing I just saw this a couple months ago. Somebody had this Rembrandt painting of the disciples in the storm of Jesus, and Rembrandt actually painted himself into this painting, and that I think that's what God is inviting us into. Like we are there on the boat with them. Like he makes his stuff personal. I just thought that was really neat that like he painted himself right into.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. The thing is, Connor's one of his favorite sayings is in light of eternity. And so true, like that storm in light of eternity.
Just a blip.
Not
even a blip. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big
lifespan.
It doesn't matter how big that storm was. It was just a blip. So anyway, really excited to get into Sermon on the Mount. We'll be going through that over next several podcasts whenever we don't have the interviews as our Bible study. And so if you guys want to follow along, that's where
Just get into it and read it. I mean, even if you are familiar with it, it's good to go back. One thing that hit me as we were reading it, it starts with the Beatitudes. We talked a little bit about that, but the first one, it says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Like the first thing it says, poor in spirit, meaning like those that are in need of Christ, like admittedly in need of Christ. Like that's the first thing we need to remember.
And the thing in this, I've had somebody, I believe I'll repeat what I had listened to, that are poor in spirit. Jesus came to save those that were poor in spirit. He was with the tax collectors. He was with the sinners. You have to understand the time. The Pharisees had themselves up on some high shelf. They thought they were something special. He didn't come back to like save that, right? He didn't. That's not what he was here for. And so, the fact that like we're all poor in spirit, you're enough, and so that's what he's coming for. And theirs will be the kingdom of heaven because they're willing to admit it. That's where I was trying to go with that. Are you willing to admit that without him you fall short? Right. Pharisees weren't.
Right.
You know?
Right. They were going to work their way.
Yeah. And, I don't know how you guys feel with the message, but I read that all the time to like expand a little bit on this. And it says, you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God and his rule. And I just think, it's just an interesting perspective. Like what does poor in spirit mean? Yes. Right? Like end of your rope. Like I get that. And then like what you're saying, like with less of you, there's more of God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pride, the difference between pride and humility, right? Pride is a sin. Humility isn't. And then the next one, blessed are those who mourn. This is verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
And when it says blessed, like, I don't think that means like you are being blessed, like you have more of something. I think it's just like a general happiness with the Lord, like where you stand with the Lord, like you, like today when we say, God bless you or bless this individual, like it's almost like a hoping or a pouring out of having more of something or an advantage of some way, shape, or form. How do you read blessed? I know there's been a few different studies on what that blessed means, but I think it's more just like a state of well-being in your relationship with the Lord is.
Yeah, I don't think it's meaning anything that you have to be like in mourning to be blessed, or that you're, when that happens, then all of a sudden you're going to be given all these riches and all that stuff.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
I believe it to be that when you get vulnerable like that, much like John just said, when there is less of you and you realize that in your mourning, that in the struggles, that in the trials, that Jesus is the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
And that you will have a lifetime with him. That's what I believe. That's the gift. That's the blessing.
But it says, like you were saying, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Like it's a good thing to mourn.
Yes.
That's not something I think of often because mourning is this negative mindset that I don't want to go down.
Again, it's kind of like what we were talking earlier. Like, are you willing to be vulnerable enough to put yourself out there and mourn? Now, don't become just a victim and just vesiculate in mourning or vesiculate in your problems, right? And become a victim. I don't believe it has anything to do with being a victim, but I'm with you there.
You just want to read through all of them?
Yeah, yep. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger for the thirst of righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are prosecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you who others revile you and prosecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecute the prophets who were before you.
And all these blessings, like our human nature thinks, well, if we do these things, we'll have these things, this reward here on this earth. I don't think any of these rewards are for this earth. Like this is all for
Yes.
for heaven.
For eternity in heaven.
His reward there, 12, rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. But our human nature sit here and wait for this reward to show up on earth.
But I think when your reward is there, it changes how you operate.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think it's always good when you're reading the Bible to think of time frames and what's going on, right? He is talking to people that prior to this, the Son of God had not been on earth. We get to look back at it, and then we all, and then you can cast, your thoughts of what may come in the future. And so when he's speaking to these people, they really had no idea or no thought around him. They're not getting to look back on him and read and listen to these things. And so everybody out in front of him had been, if they were Jews or Gentiles, had never even had these thoughts.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why it says in many places, like they were at awe because he spoke with such authority. Yeah. It's the first time they would have heard these. Like most, I've been a Christian, a believer my whole life, different churches, but I've been able to read a Bible since I could read. And so it's not such an awe-struck thing because we can go back and read it at any point.
But how many of us would have these things happen to us and consider ourselves blessed?
For sure. Right.
Like
yes.
Even now, it's still like,
Yeah.
I did look up what the Greek word for blessed was, and it says the Greek translates more into like how fortunate or deeply favored you are. And so when you read through these with that kind of a definition, like how deeply favored are you when you're, sad or whatever, it just doesn't make sense with what we see.
Right. Yeah.
It's counterintuitive.
It is. Which kind of correlates in with what Peter said, like rejoice in the sufferings.
Yes.
None of these are really happy things. I mean, peacemakers that can have some sort of joy with it, but blessed are those who mourn. Meek isn't something that our human nature wants to be. Mm-hmm. We don't want to hunger or thirst. I mean, but for righteousness' sake. Yeah.
Well, and it's because we ate the apple, right? Like prior to that, everything was fine and comfortable. There was no pain. But, once we took a bite of the apple, we will, I can't quite remember how it goes, but we will, we'll have to fight the weeds and all of those things, right? We'll be up against trials. Women will struggle with labor. There will be trials. Can you live in the fruits of the Spirit in those trials? Can you, while you're in mourning, while you're in all these things, how are you going to react? Are you going to continue to react in the flesh, or are you going to let the Holy Spirit work in you and you're going to react in good ways, right? Are you going to be what's coming next is the salt and light of the earth? And, and he says here, and you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world, a city set on a hill and cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. I think for me, one of the biggest things, I used to, when I was young and coming up through and going through some trials and different family, we kind of had a difficult childhood or whatever, everybody's got a story and it needs to be told. But I used to have this vision of being Atlas and holding the world on my shoulders and rising my family up. That's a lot of pressure. Somewhere along my journey, the vision in my head changed to just being a lighthouse on an island. And as the storm rages around the island and the boats are out at sea, I just need to stay steadfast in God, and he will be the light that shines out, and he'll bring the ships into the harbor and into safety. And that took all of the pressure away from it. Not that I still don't feel it. Don't get me wrong. Like I want to go save those, or I feel like I can control that. But that's really what he's saying here. You're the lampstand. He's the light. So don't think your good works are just, he's working through your good works. Don't feel like you have to control and it's all on you. A lampstand doesn't move. Guys.
And what I like with the Message version is it really shows you that even when you're going through these hard things, it's taking the focus off of comforts of life or pleasures in life, and it's putting the focus back on God. It's just really drawing a contrast. When you're at the end of the rope, with less of you, there's more of God. When you've lost what's most dear to you, only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you, which is God. And so just finding God in these hard things of life.
Well, and salt has flavor. Don't be boring, right? Like, don't go to have flavor. You got to be out in the world. You got to be experiencing the world. You got to be going through trials, and you got to have joy, right? You got to have pain, and you got to have happiness and laughter. Like, if you're just living this bland, mundane, behind the computer screen life, 9 to 5, I get up in the morning, I'm halfway asleep, I drive to work, there's no excitement in my day. That's a saltless life, right? Go interact.
And you see it play out in the world. It's like, where are the fastest growing churches in the world? Iran and China. They don't have any of the freedoms we do.
Yeah.
And they're the fastest growing church. It's like, you go over to these places, where are they seeing men, a bright light man, in their dreams? It's like in Iran. Where can you go to jail for worshiping in the street? I mean, you could get put to death in Iran for that.
And when you are the lampstand, when you are living a life that has the flavor of salt in it, you go back up into 11, and I love Ramsey, or one of them, anyway. Dogs don't bark at parked cars. Yeah. So 5:11, right? Blessed are you when others revile and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. As you acknowledge Jesus, that's the difference. That's the line. No Jesus. That's the difference in all of it. As you pronounce his name, and that he was resurrected, and that he died on the cross for us to save us of our sins. When you make that statement, that's when you draw that line in the sand. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be prideful. You don't have to any of that stuff. That's just where the line is. He didn't have to tell Pontius Pilate and give him this big long story and lecture about how he taught. No, he just, whatever you think, Pontius. And when you draw that line in the sand, you are going to be reviled. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to face trials. And to stay willing to be the salt and willing to allow God to work through you, that it's hard.
And so what does it say in your life if you're not going through any trials, if you're not going through much suffering? And I know we all are, but I think it's something, I feel like a lot of our goals is like to avoid those things at all costs.
Sure. Yeah.
But that is not.
We will make decisions to turn away from them.
Yes.
And the evil one's going to naturally push us towards that. He's going to push us towards having a 68-degree house, a 68-degree car, a 68-degree office, a job that allows you to sleep in until 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I don't know what the case may be, right? He's gonna bring comforts. You can get your dopamine hit or excitement playing a video game, playing, whatever, Madden or Call of Duty. Well, instead of playing Madden, maybe go out and play some football with your buddies, so.
And it's not that all those things are bad in and of themselves, but this seeking to just make things more comfortable and easy, that's where.
Well, and I think that's the whole point.
You're not doing the
drawing
will
a
of the Lord.
contrast even back then.
Yes.
It's good to be poor. It's good to be meek. It's good to hunger and have thirst. I mean, it's like these are all kind of contradictory things back then. Even now, we'd say it's good to be rich. It's good to live in comfort. These are just countercultural things.
Well, and to your point, all those things aren't bad. The thing is too, and we would all say that this is really good. Mm-hmm. If I was to read this every day and ignore my wife and my children and my community, reading this every day, all day would be just as bad.
Well, it's just that it's a saying that we brought up before. It's not how much scripture you know; it's how much scripture you live.
I love that. It's how much scripture you live. Right. That's what he's asking.
That's an
us
act.
To do.
Live.
Yeah. Go live.
Act it out. Yeah.
And we're called to go be out into the world.
Yes. Yes, disciples of all nations isn't going to happen on your couch.
No. Well.
Yeah, so we're going to continue going through really Matthew and the Sermon on the Mount. But again, just because we feel it's it's very good for us to reread it again, to get back to Jesus' teachings. Yeah. We do a lot of reading. We talk about a lot of books. We talk about a lot of insightful people. But to get back to the words of Christ is a very important thing.
It is. Yep. Everything you need to know is in his words. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Everybody else after that has just kind of used them and put them into their own ways of saying, you know.
And we're not going to try to make a sermon on it, but we're just going to talk through it and just do like a little Bible study like we normally would do in our daily basis. And glad that everybody can join us.
Yep. Well, see you guys all next week or whenever this thing airs. And we'll close this out with a prayer. John?
Sure, happy to. Lord, I just thank you that you sent Jesus to give us these countercultural messages that are just as true today and just as countercultural today as they were back then, maybe even more so. In a world and a culture that loves comfort, that runs from, is seeking wealth all the time. And I just thank you, Lord, that you work in those things, that is where you are found, and that you prefer to have us draw closer to you than to those things. So I just pray for everybody listening that you would expose in their hearts the things that they're holding on to that are keeping them from you, that the pain that they're maybe not addressing, the suffering that they're not leaning into, that they're running from, and that you would just open them up to a better way, a better adventure, a way to become salty again, and that they would go out into the world and just be the salt and the light that you've called them to be.